Welcome everyone. Busy day today. We've got nearly 100 people attending today, which is amazing. So far we've got 45 online. My computer is going nuts, which is good. All right. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right. Amazing. Okay, let's get started. For those that don't know me, my name's Chuong. I'm the Managing Director of Fuse Technology. With me presenting today is Jason Ferguson, Head of Platforms and AI. Jason, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for making the time to join us this afternoon.
Amazing. All right, so we're going to get into it, and we're going to focus on the actual tool because I think that's what everyone wants to see, and we're going to show people kind of some use case scenarios that we've found over the last week. So for those that don't know, we're Fuse. We're a managed service provider based in Sydney, but kind of servicing our clients globally. We've got an office in the UK. We've got people in Vietnam. We've got people in New Zealand, and we're spread throughout Australia. And what we do is we kind of handle managed services for the small, medium business space. And we're a cloud first Microsoft house. And within our kind of stack, we do managed services. We're also a professional services business, but then we do things like procurement. So, you know, if you buy licensing, hardware, those sorts of things, we can help you out. And then also the hot off the press is the AI adoption piece. And what we're doing today is basically showing you Copilot. So Microsoft released it to the wider community last week. So before last week, you had to commit to a minimum of 300 licenses, and you had to basically be a big provider. From last week, anyone could buy the product, but Microsoft put a few hurdles in the way so that it wasn't quite straightforward decision-making process, i.e. you couldn't just pay $50 a month and get it. You basically had to commit to a year of licensing costs, and we'll talk to you about that towards the end of the session. So what's Copilot? So everyone's kind of heard of ChatGPT, but what Copilot for Microsoft 365 is what we're going to show you today, is the total integration into the Microsoft stack. They also have released a Copilot Enterprise Pro license, which is chat with commercial data protection. So within sorry, there's a few things going on. Within Edge, for instance, you can fire up Bing Chat and have all of your data protected in there. And then there's Windows Copilot, which is built into Microsoft Windows. They've also released a Copilot Pro just to confuse things. And what Copilot Pro is designed as is, instead of buying the ChatGPT subscription from OpenAI, you can basically buy the subscription from Microsoft, and then that will integrate into Word and Excel, but it doesn't kind of work across the full Microsoft stack. So what we're doing today is we're kind of focusing on Copilot for Microsoft 365. There's also a Dynamics 365 Copilot. So if you're using Dynamics for your sales or finance, there's Security Copilot, which is for all you security people out there. And then there's a bunch of other things around GitHub developers, those sorts of things. But as I said, today we're focused on the Copilot for 365. So what does that mean? It's all about the cross-app experience. So if you look at it, it's about helping everyday people do their jobs. And whether it be a senior executive, HR, operations, sales, you know, it's all about enabling people to do things more quickly. And I'm going to just show you some really good, quick examples of what we've seen it can help us with. but also there's some tips and tricks around what you can do to make it an even better experience. And that's kind of where we come in. We can kind of help your business, if you don't have internal IT, go through the process of really, understanding what needs to happen. So let's just dive into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of jump across and share my screen. So hopefully, no, hang on, let me try it again. Share screen. All right, so hopefully you can all see my screen. So I'm going to start off with the most basic feature that's built in. And basically, there is a Copilot button on your Microsoft 365 portal. And if you click it, it basically comes up with, Copilot, and it gives you a bunch of things that you can ask. But, if I go to view prompts, it'll also give you some recommendations. So let's do this. What's the latest from someone? So what I can do is I can basically say, what is the latest from Rebecca? Rebecca is our admin in here. I chat to her all the time, and I may have a one-on-one with her. And before my one-on-one, I just want to see what's going on with Rebecca so that I can be prepared for my one-on-one. So what you'll see is it'll search through all of my emails, chats, and files that we're working on and summarize at a glance what's happening. And the beauty of it is it then creates links where I can see where it's gotten that information from. So if I, click on it, you can see the email, and I can click through to that email. I can see chats. So this is in Teams. And then I can see files that she's worked on as well. So just like that, I have a very quick view of what I have. And then what I can say is, when is my next meeting with Rebecca? So once again, very simple, says tomorrow she's going to present some new dashboards to me. And, just like that, I've cut scrolling through my emails, scrolling through my chats, looking at files that we're working together, and I can come pre-prepared to my one-on-one with her, knowing exactly what she's been working on, what we've got to do, and where we're at. So you can see how powerful the tool is within the Microsoft 365 environment. So this takes ChatGPT to the next level. It opens up your data. Now, just remember, all the chats and all the things that you do within these chats stay only private to you. So my admin cannot go in and go, oh, what has Chuong searched for in Copilot? That's all safe and secure. It's only looking for data within my tenant. So it's not going out to the world. And also, any of the chat information that's used is not used for training data in the future. So what I can see is I can also have a look at all of my history of all my chats. So once again, all of that is kind of baked into the Microsoft 365 platform. So you can see how powerful it is at a basic level. And then I can you can see how it prompts me, what are the dashboards about? I don't know. It's going to go for a look. In this information, it actually couldn't find anything, but it says you may want to reach out to her directly. So you can kind of see how Microsoft are kind of making it good and bad, and then you can kind of give your feedback, right? So this is the stuff where you can share your prompt and generated data with Microsoft, or you can just give feedback as to what's going wrong. So I think Microsoft are on a learning journey on this, but for me, at a most high level, this tool is going to help reduce some of the noise that I get on a day-to-day basis. So what I'm going to do now is kind of go across to, well, I'm going to meet with her in a meeting, but even better, I can kind of show you what like a meeting looks like. So we actually have Teams Premium turned on. And for those that don't have Teams Premium, what you can see is it will basically go through and record. When you record your sessions, it will tell you who spoke in the session. It'll generate meeting notes and follow-up tasks. It'll have any mentions where my name is mentioned. But even better yet, there's this Copilot button. And what Copilot does is I can ask it, recap the meeting for me. So it will go through and look at the meeting and recap what happened, and or even reference at what part of the conversation that happened. So you can see how powerful this is for me. I no longer have to worry about people taking minutes, because it's just going to happen. I can go through after the fact, but even better yet, this meeting happened when I was on a plane coming back from Melbourne. And so I started the meeting, I had to drop off the meeting, but then when I got back in front of my computer, I could see exactly what had transpired, any action items for me, and then I could recap the meeting and finish off all the last bits of the meeting. So you can see how powerful it is in terms of kind of the day-to-day mundane stuff that just needs to happen. And, you can just sit there and query it. So for instance, if I go to that ops meeting again and I go to Copilot, were there any action items for Stuart? Right? And I can just ask it questions, and it will go through all the transcripts and try to generate whether or not there were any action items for Stuart. So it's doing that search. And you can see, look, Stuart's got a lot of action items. P1 and P2 SLA processes, squeeze out some generic processes that we've got to do this week. So this is such a great tool for managers, but also for people attending meetings, just to remind them what we are accountable for, what did we discuss, and what do we have to do moving forward. So from a Teams perspective, you can see how great it is, especially if you're using Teams a lot. Now, they also have functionality around Outlook. So the only condition is they have to use the new version of Outlook. So for those that haven't used it yet, it's different. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but for me, for instance, this is where it can kind of help us. So we've got to order some new T-shirts from one of our great suppliers. So this is an email trail that has just gone on and on and on, right? And I just want to know where we're at. I hit this summary by Copilot button, and it will summarize the entire email trail. I contacted David about getting some T-shirts and laptop bags. Julian provided the designs. David quoted. We decided to go with option 1, and I've sent 2 bags to David's office for printing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but that just saved a minute of me mindlessly scrolling through advertising, banners, trying to get to the bottom of the email. Now, it has the ability to draft responses. So, I can basically come up and, hit a button that basically says, draft with Copilot. Say thanks to everyone. Now, I'm still not sold on the Outlook feature, right? Because it hasn't, done anything different, but it's part of the journey. And I think there's coaching. So type at least 100 emails. So, once again, so you can see it's in preview mode. So there's a lot of stuff that Microsoft is still baking into these products. But for me, the biggest feature of Outlook that I love right now is the summary. Like, it just saves me so much time, effort, and energy when I'm kind of scrolling through big emails where I'm like CC'd on them and I just want to know where things are at. So that's Outlook. Word. So this is where it starts getting really interesting. So I'm just going to kind of close up some Word. So let me open up a new Word. So one of the things that obviously we do a lot of and is time consuming is writing proposals or building, building justifications on doing things. So we were playing around with this and we said, well, write a proposal to migrate from Google Workplace to Microsoft 365 for the management team. Right. So imagine if you're, a finance person internally, you're the internal IT manager, and you need to put together something. All right. So you can see here, it is just generating a beautifully, a simply formed Word document. It's very simplistic. It basically says exec summary, migration, conclusion, and recommendation. So I can say make it formal because it prompted me to do that. And you'll see that it does its thing. So the IT department proposes the migrate. So it's made it a little bit more formal. It's added some more meat. But what we learned is, you can actually, Microsoft have some best practice for prompt engineering. So if I go back to my chats, sorry, did you send? I'm just trying to remember who sent me the prompt. Here we go. So Peter actually wrote a prompt that was a little bit more detailed. And what that prompt did was it said, write a proposal highlighting the benefits, process, presented to an executive team, focus on major technical changes and end user experience. Please use simple language and highlight business outcomes. So
this is a good, just to jump in there, Chuong, this is actually a really good call out. So the more specific you are in the prompt, the better the results are. So if you just type in, create me a proposal to migrate from Google to 365, you won't get the best response. If you're a little bit more specific and deliberate with your prompt engineering, you'll get a much stronger response out of Copilot.
So you can see the first one was like a page and a half. This is now, much more detailed. So it's kind of, it's gotten a lot more. And then I can say, make it formal. And what you can do is you can actually reference other documents if you want to kind of help pull the information together. But you can see now it's made it more formal. So just by tweaking your kind of questions, you can save an inordinate amount of time getting the best outcome, right? And so from this document, we're going to do something even better. We're going to take it to the next level, right? So I'm going to keep it, I'm going to save it. Six, five. Oh, what have I done? Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to go and create a PowerPoint presentation. So, I've written this white paper, this document for my management team, and they're like, can you present it in the next management team meeting? So what I can do within Copilot in PowerPoint is I can create a presentation from a file, and all I have to do is cut and paste the link to SharePoint or OneDrive where I've saved this file. It will review the entire document and literally generate a slide deck for me. So you can see from my perspective how much time it's going to save. So, you know, we're kind of talking about it internally, and half the challenge of writing documents from scratch is, you know, coming up with a starting point. And, you know, my wife used to be an EA back in the day, and, you know, she used to be told, can you start a proposal or start a Word document, use this as a precedence, and just put a shell together? She basically said half my job would be gone by using this. And then what it's done is it's created an entire PowerPoint deck around that proposal document. So you can see, like, it's not half bad. You know, it's kind of succinct to the point. It's done my agendas. It's kind of told me the outline of the presentation. I can then use Designer. So what we've been doing is we've been playing about how we can kind of create templates from our existing templates, so that when you create this from scratch, instead of using, you know, generic Microsoft templates, it pulls up your user guides so your design guides that you have internally. And yeah, Microsoft has this great tool called Designer where it can actually go through and give you some different ideas on how to do the agenda. All right, so you can see how powerful this is in terms of just getting started. You know, it's half the challenge when you're generating content these days is, where do I start? And most people will pull up old documents and change words, and, you know, you end up leaving spelling mistakes from the old document into the new document. This way, you know, you've kind of, whilst you've had help, you also have to think about the document and work your way through it. So that's like a simple workflow that's taken a Word document into a PowerPoint so that you can present it. And then the last kind of tool that Microsoft have built is Excel. So what I'm going to show you is, you know, we haven't kind of built huge demos yet in Excel. I think there's a bit of work for us to kind of wrap our head around it. So what I'm going to show you is, you know, the most simplistic way I've kind of seen so far of using it. So this is a rate card that we use, and I just wanted some data. So I can go to Copilot and I can say, you know, let's see, when it wakes up, create a pivot table, right? So for those that hate pivot tables, it will actually do all the pivot table work for you. You just choose your table, it understands your data, and then it'll create a pivot table. Now imagine if you had lots of data, right? So whilst this is a small table, imagine if you had a big table. So once again, you know, it's created a pivot table for me. What did I do? Anyway, I did one before, and then I got it to drop the pivot table data here. So this was a pivot table that it created. But once again, I can also go into the tables and say, highlight the top 3 highest rates in table B, C, and D. Right. So if you wanted to highlight, you know, data before, you really had to know conditional formatting. You kind of had to click a bunch of buttons. Here, you can just basically write a natural language. Oh, it didn't work for me this time, but you can see before. Hang on, let me try again. You can see it's also in preview. So we're, you know, it's early days. Highlight the highest value in table C. So hopefully it'll highlight the highest value or actually, I should have said column C. Sorry, my typo. Oh, it worked it out anyway. It knew what I was saying. So it highlighted 1600 for me straight away. And just like that. So obviously, this is a pretty simplistic table, but you can imagine if you had, rows and rows of table data and you wanted to scroll through, look for trends, those sorts of things, you can do it. So that's kind of, at a high level, some of the examples that I've seen around how you can kind of use Copilot, to improve your experience from a demo perspective. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk through where we're at now. So this is where we kind of talk to Jason. What are your organizational goals using AI? So these are the things that we're asking our clients to think about. What are the pain points? What are your current capabilities? Data strategy. So one of the things that you've got to be clear about is obviously there's, you can open up some really sensitive data when you do these searches. So you've got to make sure that you understand where your data is and how your people are using their data. And do you have all the necessary infrastructure and resources? So you need to be using tools like SharePoint and OneDrive and Teams to really get the most of it. So what we want to do is kind of talk about what we can do. So I think, Julian, we've got a poll where we're going to ask some people what to next. But Jason, do you want to kind of talk through what we're going to offer as part of the next steps for our clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So these questions here are quite key. So for us, if I talk about ourselves a little bit internally, we know what our goals are as an organisation, as I'm sure everyone on this call, knows what their own ones are. Exploring what those pain points are that AI can address may not be something that comes naturally to you if you're not working in this sort of bleeding edge innovation space. So what we're looking to do is work closely with you to understand what those goals are, understand what's kind of preventing you or holding you back, where you see your own operational inefficiencies or where you see opportunities for competitive advantage, and looking to explore how natural of a fit is AI in those areas. A discussion around your capabilities with AI internally. So if you've got internal IT or you've got folks on your team that are already exploring AI, then you'd argue that you have a higher AI capability than someone who may not have internal IT themselves. Similarly, we want to understand what your data strategy is. For us, as a managed service provider, first and foremost, the majority of our data relates to how we help and serve our customers, and the majority of that sits in a system called Autotask. So understanding that from your perspective, where is your data, where does it sit, how do you access it, and how do you leverage your Microsoft Office 365 suite to be able to communicate either internally or with your clients, like in those examples that Chuong shared. And then having a look to see what infrastructure and resources you have or may need to invest in to support those AI initiatives. So really this is around us coming on a journey with you and spending a couple of days to develop a proof of concept to showcase how and where AI could support you, so that you can make the best and most informed decision as to where you're up to and whether Copilot's going to be a great fit and a great asset to your business.
So I think we're going to run a couple of quick polls for people, and I think we've got some happening at the moment. I think they've all been sent as we go along. What we want to do is also provide some quick starts. So if you have internal IT and you have capability in-house and you just want to get your hands on some licenses, just reach out to our team. So how Microsoft have priced this product is you basically have to buy a 12-month subscription upfront, which works out to be just over $580, I think, give or take. Peter and the sales team can kind of help you out if you want some kind of more precise pricing. And you basically have to commit to a license 12 months up front. And the reason Microsoft are doing this is because obviously the compute power that they have to invest to turn on these is quite significant. And what they didn't want was the entire planet to turn on a license tomorrow, them have to spin up all of the compute, and then after 30 days, everyone turn it off, right? So what they've tried to do is kind of found a mix. We think over time they will kind of revert to a monthly pricing. But what we're saying to people is if you have internal IT, buy yourself some licenses. So, we launched it last week and we've already had a handful of clients just go, we want a bunch of licenses today so that we can start trialing it out. So by all means, do that if you need to. The second option is we are doing proof of concepts for our clients. So Jason is going to be leading a consulting exercise for each and every client. And what we're going to basically do is allow our clients to buy a couple of days of consulting, buy a couple of licenses, and Jason will come in with the team to build out some use cases, make sure your security is right, make sure you have a clear ROI. We've built some ROI calculators to help you kind of justify the cost of it. But what we're saying is if you're not sure about it, don't dive all in straight away. To be perfectly honest, we're our organization, we've got 40 staff, we've bought 4 licenses just to try it out, just to make sure that we understand who the best fit for this product is. And so Jason can then say, for instance, work with the finance team or marketing or sales and build some use cases around it and just try it and make sure, it's doing what it says it's going to do on the packet. All right. And then the last option is we are doing just a free desktop assessment. So if you want and you're not sure about whether you're ready or not and you don't want to commit any money, what we can do is a free desktop assessment where we basically fill out a questionnaire with you, and it'll help you understand where you are on the AI journey and whether or not you're ready for it. We recommend that you do that with us. So, we schedule in some time. We'll just sit down and help you fill out the questionnaire, and it'll come back and basically tell you where you are on your AI journey. So that's kind of, where we're at today. Now, I can sit here and do a whole bunch of demos for you. We've had a few questions coming in through the chat. Does anyone, from a opening up the floor perspective, are there any questions, Julian, that I need to kind of respond to? Does anyone want to see anything in particular? Chuck it through in the chat, and we've got a little bit of time, so we're happy to kind of show people how it works. I might need someone to tell me because I'm struggling to catch up with it. Yeah, so Windows 11 isn't a requirement day one, Sean. So you can use it on Windows 10, but you do have to have the latest and greatest Microsoft 365 applications. Most of our clients will have that.
You can also use Mac as well.
Yeah, so it's supported in Mac. So I'll show you. So this is the Mac version. So the Copilot button is in there. So I'll show you, for instance. So hopefully you can see this, but in the Teams chat on Mac, so I hit the Copilot button. And so for those that came late, I can say recap the. So if I showed up late, I can just ask it to recap the meeting for me. And you'll see that it will actually go through all the transcripts. It'll tell me when, who said it. There you go. And it's recapped the meeting. We did an introduction, examples, discussed challenges. Are there any questions from the chat that are unanswered? So it'll kind of scroll through the chats. So you can see how simple it is in terms of kind of the prompting and, how you can ask it questions. It just makes, there you go. here are some of the questions. So how does it handle sensitive data? So sensitive data, everything is within your tenant. It's all handled, like if you've got an Australian tenant, the data stays in Australia. It doesn't leave the confines. Can it create charts and stuff in Excel? That's a good question. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm going to open up the Mac version of Excel and see if it can kind of create. God love Mac. Copilot. Create a bar chart. Don't know. Can I do it? So it's all kind of new to me. Thanks for these questions. Best thing is to try, right? There you go. It's created a bar chart. So just like that, 1 to 10 days by resource type. It's finishing it up. And then I can just go add to new sheet. And just like that, it's added a bar chart to the new sheet. So that answers that question. How do you get the latest version of Outlook? So if you go to, assuming you have all the latest patches on your Outlook. So I'll show you, if you go into the old Outlook, you should see a button on the top that says, this is opened up, this version of Outlook. Hang on. Where is it? Here we are. So this is the old version of Outlook. It's opening it up. But basically, there's a little tab at the top, and it says, do you want to use the new Outlook? And you tick that tab, and it'll do it. Yes, mobile devices. So yes, I've been playing with it on mobile devices. Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel are all kind of available on mobile devices already. So there's some questions that have been asked.
Yeah, there are more questions actually that didn't come up here. Sorry, I jump in.
Sure.
I don't have them all because we've got quite a few, so we'll manage them after the call if we haven't got to it now. But a couple of questions. One is about, so are we able to enable some licenses for some people, but not to all?
100%. Yep. So as I said, in our tenant, I turned it on for myself, for Jason, for Ken Jeffries, our CTO, and for Gavin Camilleri, our services director, and we're playing with it now. So you can just turn it on for 4 users. You can then reassign those licenses. So I could take the license away from Jason right now and give it to Peter, my head of sales, for him to play with next. So yeah, so you can buy a small handful of licenses and reapply them across the board. One of our clients actually asked that, one of their use cases was, they had technical documents that they needed to, turn into plain English. So I'll show you, one great one. There was a document, there was basically a technical document that was created by one of our engineers. And we basically said to it, please turn this into a document that anyone can kind of understand. So just let me bring it up, because I think it's a good example. Date modified. So this is sorry. It's always great when you put things all right. So
Well, while Chuong's pulling that up, so when you're actually going through the prompts, when I mentioned earlier, it's really important to be quite specific in your prompt engineering. That's exactly what I'm referring to. So if you had a Word document and you wanted to turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, if you want to put some context in there around who the audience is, so it might be prepare a presentation based on this particular document for an executive leadership team, or for a technical team, or for a bunch of engineers. what Copilot will then do is tailor the document and the output based on the audience that you're targeting.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have the document at hand, but basically what we did was we had here we go. Here we go, I found it. Let me bring this up. So we have a technical run book, right? So think an engineer has created a document. So this is the run book, right? So it's very technical. And then what I did was I basically said, copy link. So what I did was I said, all right, let's create a new document, reference a file, make this document for our CEO to read, right? And then I reference a file, which is sorry.
Chuong,
Right.
we're not seeing the window you're working on.
Okay.
We're just seeing the document.
Right. Sorry. Right. So what I did was I referenced that document, which was a very highly technical document, and I said, make it a document that our CEO could read. And you can see here, it's stripped out all the crap. It's basically written an introduction, it's turned it into plain English, and it's really simplified the document and made it easier for people to read. So when you kind of think about where this tool can build efficiency, one of our clients was like, oh, we do a lot of technical documentation and then we have to rewrite it into user guides. Well, imagine being able to kind of do half the legwork immediately, where you can basically, turn this document here, which is quite technical, into something that's, plain English. And so there's some of the benefits that we're seeing today. Now, obviously, every organization will be different on how they can use it, but we're thinking, Jason had an example where it used new training data. So Jason, do you want to show the example of the tax stuff that you showed us in writing a blog post?
Yeah, sure. Actually, why don't you just generate it?
Yeah, sure.
Rather than be pre-canned. So,
all right.
So the use case here, just while Chuong's pulling up Word, was as most people will probably be aware, there's been some press lately about taxation changes, depending on which side of the political fence you may sit on. The one party sort of throwing stones at the other one, which is not uncommon, I guess. But for a small accounting firm, they may wish to publish a small, say, 250-word blog post. So write a 250-word blog post on the impacts of the 2024 taxation changes within Australia and the benefits for, let's say, low income earners. So I'm trying to be quite specific here. So I've capped it at 250 words. I don't want this to be, 10 pages that maybe no one will write. I've been specific about what I'm after. So I'm after the impact of those tax changes, and I'm talking about this year's tax changes. And I really want to know what that impact is going to be and the benefits to low income earners. So I've tried to make this quite narrow and really target, a particular audience so that what gets generated is very specific to, what it is that I'm after, rather than just a generic blog post.
So what we're seeing with AI tools is, like searching in Google, the better you are at searching, the better you are at prompting, the more you will get out of the tool. And then the more access the tool has to the right data, the better the outcome. So, we want to really kind of drive home to our clients that, like any great tool, it's how you use it in your day to day. But think about the workflows of what you do. It may not be perfect. There may need to be some tweaking. There may need to be some things that we kind of need to change. But there are absolute benefits for most people, especially when, we're all pretty time poor. We don't have a lot of administrative help these days. Everyone's trying to churn out content very quickly, and clients are asking for things in a hurry. So that's what we're seeing the benefits of this tool are, is to just reduce some noise and help us solidify our thinking without the monotonous, typing out things that can happen. So
Chuong, just more questions that are popping up, mostly around security.
Yep.
Would you be able to say a word about how, what the security features are versus other AI platforms out there?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that Microsoft have relied on is their tools are not trained by your data. All right, so whatever you put into this tool never leaves your tenant. So Microsoft obviously have a bunch of security protocols that they have to follow. So you can imagine this is the platform that governments use. This is the platform that defense uses, and they want to really make sure that the data that you put in here stays in here. And then anything that you generate stays within yours. So at no stage can, the admin of our 365 tenant go in and go, oh, what's Chuong searching for? It's just not possible. So Microsoft have built a lot of protections around that. And so for us, we think that if you're going to use an AI tool, using the Microsoft platform is safe because they've just got so much to lose if they get the security wrong. So from our perspective, we're seeing a real benefit from Microsoft when it comes to security and keeping it safe. There's a bunch of white papers that we can share after this as well, to kind of help you understand. I don't know what happened to Copilot then. It didn't like me. So once again, with any new tool from Microsoft, it has its good days and its bad days, but right now
that's only because you've been switching from Windows to Mac, so it sees you logged in twice.
Right. Okay, that might be it. Yep.
Just on the also on the security front, we've done a webinar in last November around that specifically. So we'll share the recording as well with the audience, so you can have more details about how it all works and how it all compares with other AI tools.
Yep. Any other questions, Julian?
Yes. Let me read through a few. Oh yes, I think there's a good one here. So some people are talking about using softwares like Salesforce or Trello. How is that going to work with Copilot? And does it work with Copilot?
So good question. So right at this stage, not yet, but Microsoft and Adobe have announced that they're sharing information, so that basically they'll be opening up APIs over time. So similar to anything else, these tools, a few of them out in the market have already discussed that they're going to openly build an API into the Microsoft platform to allow you to work together. So yes, watch this space. It's still early days, but Adobe and Microsoft have already announced, and there'll be a bunch more other, I'm sure, platforms that will announce very shortly. It's like anything, everyone's trying to wrap their heads around how it works. Yeah, so Power Automate and workflows. Yeah, look, I think once again, still early days. I don't think they're there yet. So Copilot's now available for developers. So it can help write code. I think they're focusing on security and the Office apps, but I think it's only a matter of time before Power Automate and Power BI and all those other tools get Copilot. So Dynamics, as I said, has been released for Copilot. Yeah, it's going. So from development to end consumer, look, Microsoft announced Copilot June, July last year, and we only got it now. So, that's pretty rapid for Microsoft. So I think that you'll find that, depending on the uptake of Microsoft 365 Copilot, will dictate the pace of everything else. But we think that it's a game changer and it's inevitable. Like Microsoft's $10 billion investment, 12 to 18 months. Microsoft have invested $10 billion in this. I think they're going to want to return on their investment pretty quickly. Yeah, look, we haven't checked references, but yeah, once again, I would strongly recommend, we have a play with it, book some time with our guys. Even if you don't want to buy the license, we can, Jason can fire it up and do a quick demo and play around with you guys. So, feel free to reach out to us and we'll see where we can help you. Watch this space as well, because we are looking at doing a co-event with Microsoft soon, where it's a little bit more of a deeper dive. But what we wanted to do was, everyone wants to see this in person, and then they see the sticker price of $580, and away we go. So, we wanted to show you where it's at immediately and keep the momentum going. We will, we're doing a poll, basically on what you want next, and then we'll reach out to you with follow-ups straight after this.
Yeah, Chuong, there was a question earlier that I didn't get a chance to respond to it because there were quite a few questions coming in, and it was talking about Copilot in Teams. Now, given that we're getting close to the tail of this webinar, did you want to go through and just demonstrate how Copilot can summarize this meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually already had a play around. So if I now go to this meeting, right? So you can see, hopefully you can see the screen. So, where is it? So if I go into the chat, the wrong thing. This is what I needed to do, right? So you can see here, this is the meeting. If I hit the Copilot button, I can say, what are the follow-up actions for us today? So this is only available to me. So you guys can't see it, but because I've got Copilot license, I can query this chat. So it is just going through the transcripts, working out what we need to follow up. Here you go, Chuong and Jason to send slides and recordings. Attendees will fill out the poll. The attendees will reach out to the team if they have any questions or feedback. What was discussed about security? So you can see how simple it is, right? Like we talked about security a few times. It's going to go off and just summarize. Chuong explained that data stays within a tenant. He also mentioned Microsoft all the security protocols and compliance standards to protect the data, white papers that can be shared, right? That's exactly what we discussed. I don't think I've missed anything there. So you can see how Copilot has worked within this Teams meeting.
So another good summary is to ask the question of what were the questions asked in the chat that weren't responded to. Yeah, so if there was any here, because there's 60 odd people on the call, I know we did miss a few people's questions. So this gives us a really quick and easy way, without having to go and trawl back through all of the chat, to find who did we not respond to, so that we can actually capture those and then respond after the meeting.
Yep. So you can see here, how does it handle sensitive data, charts, latest version of Outlook, does it work on mobile, does it work with Asana, AI in terms of security, references and quotations. They're just some of the questions that were asked during the chat in summary. So yeah, really, really, really powerful in terms of what it can do. Just simple. Like obviously it's not perfect, but it'll handle a lot of the stuff that you need to do while on the fly in meetings. As I said, the best one for me is the recap when I've joined a meeting late, and I can just say recap the meeting today, and it will just recap where we're at with this meeting. So yeah, look, we've got 3 minutes left. I think we've covered off a lot. Like half an hour or an hour isn't really a lot of time to kind of delve into this product. And as I said, we've been playing with it all week. Here you go. Here's the recap. Meeting was about Copilot. Generate summaries, challenges, 3 options who are interested in trying out Copilot, buying, doing a proof of concept or a free desktop assessment. And we've answered some questions from the chat. That's the recap, everyone. Job done. All right. Look, I think we've taken enough of your time. We will make this session available, the full recording, for those that joined late. Please reach out to the sales team if you've got any more questions. I think it's an exciting time for the tool. It's early days, like really early days. But I think overall, there's some really exciting things to come, just especially in my life. I think it'll make a lot of, it'll save me a lot of time. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and watch your space. We'll reach out to you with some more info as we get it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.